Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien Show on KHTS AM 1220, soon to be FM. Oh, am I supposed to say that? I didn't know. All right, so here we are. We have our co-host, Tech Cat Girl. You there?
I am here, baby.
I keep on thinking Kit Kat every time I say that name.
Well, that's because you're hungry.
Maybe I should eat lunch first, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Tech Cat.
So what is IOC?
IoT.
IoT.
I was telling Brian that I have been working on getting my home all smart and connected and buying lots of connected equipment to make my house really modern and very secure.
And so up until now, what? It was old school?
Up until now, it was a normal analog house.
So what does that mean? You had to actually push a button or something?
It means that I have cameras now and other devices that all can be controlled by applications on my phone, as well as voice commands through my Amazon Alexa.
Not Echo?
It's the same thing. Alexa is just the name of it. So yes, Echo.
So when I go to your house, are the police going to come?
It depends on what you do when you're in my house, I guess.
Do you have everything's a smart device at your house now?
Well, the main things are, but if you're giving me really solid business advice, then nothing will happen to you.
Well, so now you got a smart house, and you got a smart kid, and you're smart. There's a lot of smart people around.
Yeah, that's right. But it's what's the most interesting, I think, about it, if we talk about this as it relates to small business and business folks, is that a lot of the solutions for securing your home, for securing your business, for operating your business are now available at very consumer prices because everything has been democratized. So now you can, have security for your office. You can be watching and operating everything that you're doing from a remote location. Everything is really intelligent now and connected, so it makes life much easier for an entrepreneur.
And prior to that, what would you have to do?
Well, prior to that, people would have to install proprietary solutions that were very expensive and that only one guy in the office knew how to use. And if something went down, you would have to make a service call and pay a lot of money. Now you can buy all of these different, devices and solutions at Costco and connect them yourself through a very easy interface and operate everything. And it's as simple as what everyone's been doing for the last few years with managing their air conditioning through a Nest app to looking at your security cameras to giving information, to someone in your office via some sort of connected robot.
Well,
so everything is really, democratized now.
I like that word, democratized. I mean, does that mean, North Korea is going to be democratized? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it means Guam is finally safe. No, it means that everything now is easy for the average Joe to use, and prices have come down, and solutions are easy, and, everything now is much simpler than it used to be.
Well, that's called technology, isn't it?
Yeah. It's modern life, for sure.
So what is the definition of IoT?
Internet of Things. So it means when everything is connected to the cloud and to a server so that it can be operated.
So does that mean we have a wire to the cloud right now?
I mean, we're wireless. I think that's the exciting point about it, really, Brian.
But I see these clouds in the sky. So all my stuff is up there. What happens when it rains?
Yeah, all your stuff is up there. Nothing. It just gets clean. Everything's fine.
Is that like throwing all my stuff into the trash?
Yeah, it's just like that.
So,
It's just life has become much easier for an entrepreneur because of all of this stuff, I think.
so now you have a very easy life.
Now we have a very easy life.
No, you do.
Yep. Oh, just me? I'm the only one that has an easy life?
Well, I would think you have a very easy life. You got your IoT, you got your security cameras. It's like if you sneeze, the gardener's going to be arrested. I mean, it sounds very interesting. What about?
The only issue is in all of this is keeping everything working. Because it's you. It's not like some special guy. Like, you have to know how to work everything.
Well, I would also like to know about your electric bill, because it sounds like that's probably going to be going up too.
Well, so here's the interesting thing, is a lot of this stuff is low power because they anticipated that you would have a lot of different connected devices. So a lot of it is low power, for sure.
Well, that was very, very interesting. I wanted to quickly go over a little bit about Ask Brien, and then we have a wonderful guest coming on. Her name is Hilary Silver, and she's actually has a very interesting technique on basically helping entrepreneurs and people that have issues, and we're going to have a really good show about her. Before I just want to quickly go over Ask Brien. So I don't know if you checked out the site recently. Have you?
Have I? I check it every week.
Every week? You should be checking it every day. You never know what you're going to find.
Well, the problem with checking it every day is I'm busy with all my connected devices.
Well, maybe you need to connect those to Ask Brien.
No, that's right.
But anyway, yes, so we have a couple of new things that will be coming out in the next few weeks, one of which is we're going to have a separate profile page for every contributor. So a contributor can be able to upload their own videos, will have their own separate profile page, and will be actually able to make the connections, which is a different platform from the actual user. So if a user has a question, they'll be able to ask the question, and the person on a contributor who's actually an expert, someone like yourself, who wants to answer a question, if she or he chooses to answer a question, it'll be a separate platform, and we'll be making connections, kind of like matches. So that'll be a very interesting thing that comes up. Plus, the contributors will be able to add as many videos as they choose. So.
Well, that sounds great.
I think it's going to be very, very exciting. We want to get everybody's feedback on it. Ask Brien is a great resource for people if they've got a business problem. If any business issue comes up, you go to Ask Brien. First of all, it's free, and you know what? Sometimes people say, well, it's free, it's not as good. That doesn't mean anything. The reality is the amount of qualified people with MBAs and people that are contributing on the Ask Brien site is astronomical, and so therefore the people that are actually getting great advice, and they don't have to pay for it. So that really is a great opportunity for people, and people that aren't using it should get that great opportunity. So Lori, first of all, Hilary, are you there?
I'm here.
And is it okay to call you Hilary, or should I call you Miss Silver?
No, call me Hilary, please. Not formal. I am not formal.
Hey, I was raised in a different generation, so we were very formal. Nowadays, people, I don't think they have that same impression. So
yeah.
I'm a little bit more of a formal person. But Lori, you had some questions you want to ask Hilary. Hilary has a great background. She actually had a background in social work, and had started out there, then became an entrepreneur, and now is helping entrepreneurs with issues, with problems that they have. So without any further ado, Lori, do you have any questions you wanted to ask?
Yeah, well, Hilary, I would love to know a little bit about your journey from going from, what you were doing to coming into this entrepreneurial world and leveraging, a lot of the skills that you honed, in your social work. But how you came to sort of be this coach, this life coach.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I went back to grad school when I was 27, knowing full well I was going to end up in private practice. Up until that point, I really just had some jobs. They were never really careers. I just knew I needed to work for myself. I've always kind of been insubordinate and rebellious and unemployable and just causing trouble. So I...
Sounds like you, Lori.
I mean, that's it all sounds so familiar.
So I chose to be a therapist because of my own private, personal journey. It's not private, actually. I share it quite openly. Just my own journey to finding happiness and self-love and empowerment and being able to lead the life that I want to lead. So I went to grad school and started my private practice straight out of grad school after everybody told me I couldn't do it, and I did. And I built it to a 6-figure business, working just 2 days a week. In a very short period of time while I was also having kids and becoming a mom. And but when my kids got old enough to go to school, and they're in 2nd and 5th grade now, but when my youngest was starting kindergarten, I just really started to feel like I'm not just a therapist helping one person at a time. I'm actually a business owner, and I am an entrepreneur, and I'm not going to feel bad about that. I want to be able to help people and make money, and that is not, those aren't two mutually exclusive things. So I just started realizing that I could make a bigger impact if I left the privacy of my office to share the helping message that I found myself repeating myself over and over and over again in my office with all my clients. And so to me, it just felt like a natural progression to go from where I was to where I wanted to be, because I just felt passionate about getting that message out.
Oh, I love that. Now, I know for myself, my struggle is always, how much do I invest in myself? How much do I invest in my business? And, am I worthy enough of putting money towards myself? What is that connection between, I have to grow my business, I have to put money into it. So working with a coach, you're investing in yourself and your business. So how do you help people, get over that hump of, in order to scale, I need to invest? Because that's a really hard decision to make.
It is a hard decision to make, but it's not. If you really believe in what you're doing and you believe in yourself, then you won't question it, not for a second. So I spent all that money on my 2-year degree, getting my master's, and in the last couple years, growing my business from a local brick and mortar to being online in such a short time. I was on the Steve Harvey Show just last July. Being able to go from local brick and mortar without an audience and a following to doing that and to accomplishing that is purely because I believe in myself and what I'm doing, and I'm driven to achieve that. And in order to do anything, you have to invest in yourself. No matter what it is, you have to invest in yourself. It's the best money you can ever spend.
That's a great point for people to be thinking about. My other question for you, just in terms of how you work, are you finding that your clients and the ones that have the most success are of a particular type, of a particular background or mentality? Is there a particular kind of person that you see getting to that place of success more often than not?
I think the main big difference is the people who are willing to self-reflect and not be so resistant. Usually the resistance and the defensiveness to hearing feedback and kind of connecting dots for people is usually that's because that's the area that needs the work. But it's not my job to knock that down. And so the people that come to me who are already kind of willing and interested and eager and able to kind of self-reflect and grow that self-awareness are the ones that do the best. At least they do the best quickly.
You're listening to KHTS 1220 on your dial. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I did have a question. So
Sure.
For everybody that may not have the same background that you do and I do, what does self-reflect mean?
That's a good question. So being able to kind of step outside of your own self and see yourself from the outside in. So being able to feel some of the feelings that you're having and be curious about them and look at what some of the behaviors that you're doing and kind of be curious about why you do what you do and connecting dots between how you're feeling and what you're doing and maybe why you're doing that a little bit and then being able to take responsibility for that so that you can make the change. If everything in your life is somebody else's fault, then you're stuck. Like, you can't do anything to make it better. It's somebody else's fault. We all like to blame moms, don't we? We like to blame our moms.
Well, anything in therapy, I mean, that's got to be overused. Mom did this, mom did that.
Yeah.
So is that is being self-reflective the opposite of being empathetic?
No. I think it's you have to have empathy for yourself to really be able to make the changes that we all need to make to continue to grow. If we're judgmental of ourselves and critical of ourselves, it's really challenging to open up to our own truth. So I think empathy is a key ingredient for all of us to have for ourselves and for other people.
Because when I consider empathy, I think about how it affects somebody else, not how it would affect me. That's why I use the word opposite, right? Because if I'm empathizing, I'm thinking, well, why is this person asking me this dumb question on the radio show? That's, I'm empathizing with your comment, right? But that's not looking reflective upon myself as to, hey, I just asked that question. Was that a smart move?
Oh, my goodness.
I have a question for you guys, just in terms of, again, because I'm always interested in understanding trends and things. Is there, something that you're finding most entrepreneurs right now are struggling with or have the most anxiety about as it relates to building their business or navigating, the world that we're living in right now? Like, is there something that keeps coming up right now?
Well, what I'm seeing is mostly the women who are married and have children who are multi-passionate, so they've got a business that they are excited about. They are doing pretty well, but they're just not able to get past a certain point. And they are struggling because they are usually the primary caregiver at home, and they have this business that they're just so excited to be growing. And they have a husband or a life partner who needs their attention as well. And so the biggest struggle that I see are these women who are spread too thin. There's not enough time in the day. They're not taking good care of themselves. They come last. Their clients, their kids, their husbands all come first. And so she's not really enjoying the process. And meanwhile, she's not feeling supported by her husband. They're struggling a little bit in their marriage. They're not on the same team about what she's doing. They're not connecting. Neither of them are feeling super satisfied or fulfilled in that area. So to me, that's what I see. Maybe that's just because the field that I'm in, and I'm a marriage counselor, and a relationship person, but those are the things that I see. And why do it if you're not going to enjoy it? And so, I am that person. I've been married 11 years together with my husband for 17, and I've got kids, and I've got this huge business that I'm growing. And so, I've really been able to master the art of navigating all three of those areas of my life, and that's why I'm super passionate about helping entrepreneur couples deal with this stuff.
So we're listening to KHTS 1220. We have Hilary Silver and my co-host, the Tech Cat Girl. We're going to take a break and be back in a minute.
You're constantly on the go. Why not be on the go in the comfort and style and safety of a new
do you
Nissan
hear music?
Valencia Nissan.
Bob Bailey, Executive Manager at Valencia Nissan, where Bob or any of his helpful, friendly staff
I can't figure out what's going on.
incredible savings and super
Coming from
specials on the 2017 Nissan Versa,
Is it really?
Sentra, Altima,
I don't hear anything.
I've turned off everything. All right, well.
Valencia Nissan will make automotive dreams come true.
So weird.
Do you know a single parent struggling either financially or emotionally in the Santa Clarita Valley? Single Mothers Outreach is an organization that focuses exclusively on the needs of vulnerable single parents.
Not tough, but the empathy one was like, my mouth was kind of open. I was trying to figure out, what do you mean? Yeah.
Single parent goes through and the struggles he or she faces on a day-to-day basis. Visit singlemothersOutreach.org.
That's all right. I can handle it.
Dinosaur Bob?
No, Blanche.
Is it the 2020 Olympics?
No.
I know. We're finally
Yeah,
hosting the World Cup.
Yeah, I'm going to have to jump in.
Building High.
So, do you want me to say anything, or do you want to just say Lori had to leave?
CastAHighProject.com. You'll get all the latest details.
What's that web address again, Bob?
CastAHighProject.com.
Again?
Yeah, well, I don't know how easy it's, I don't know how much they're going to have to talk.
That's right. StartYourFinishProject.com.
No, I just think the trends in coaching and what people are struggling with is really, I think that would be it, so that more people feel comfortable about approaching a coach and someone with those skills, you know what I mean?
Start your finish at College
All right. I'll see you. I'm going to jump off, but if I can jump back on, I will, okay?
Bye, Lori. Nice chatting.
Nice chatting with you, too.
They make it convenient for you to start your finish. COC also
Sure, if you want me to.
with low enrollment fees, financial aid, and scholarship opportunities. Start your finish at
Okay.
College of the Canyons. Register now for fall classes. Visit canyons.edu and get started.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
And we're back on the Ask Brien Show, and we're here with Hilary Silver, co-host Tech Cat Girl. Had to leave. She, as many women do, she had a lot of obligations, and one of which is picking up her daughter. So obviously that comes first here. So we're back here with Hilary. Hilary, you're answering a question, and I don't know if you'd finished it or not, so I want to give you the opportunity to finish that question. And after that question, I want you to go back to the empathy question that I asked.
Okay.
So I hope you're taking notes.
Okay, I am taking some notes. So, well, I think I kind of gave a laundry list of the things that an entrepreneurial woman who's got a family struggles with, and so I think some of it's the mom guilt. It's trying to do it all. And you don't want to give up any of it, and you don't want to feel like you have to give up any of it. And so why do it if you're not going to enjoy it? And so really the key is to figure out how you're thinking about it and to really focus on how you're showing up. You got to show up for yourself first, and foremost, and then how you're showing up in your relationships and how you're showing up in your business. And so I call it the 3 pillars. And when you can manage those really well, you're mastering it. And that's where you find that you can be the most happy and the most successful in all 3 of those areas.
All right, so what does that mean, showing up?
That's showing up means so much to me because I say that all the time, and I have to remember not everybody knows what I mean. But it's really, when you're showing up, it's how are you presenting yourself, how are you carrying yourself, how are you thinking about yourself, and then how are you sharing yourself in those different areas. So by showing up in a relationship, it's how are you asking for what you need, how are you communicating to your partner, how are you expressing yourself, how are you feeling in this relationship, and what are you doing? So what does it look like for you to be in this relationship? And that can be with your love partner or with a business partner or with your kids. It's like how you're showing up in those relationships. Does that make sense?
It seems to me like communicating.
It is. It's communicating, but it's also what your mindset is and how you're feeling about yourself. So if you're feeling insecure or you're doubting yourself, when you show up...
I wasn't until I started talking to you, but go ahead.
What? I missed that.
I wasn't doubting myself until I started talking to you, but...
Oh, no. Okay, let's pump you back up. So, so, you have to really be empowered in your life and to believe that you are deserving and worthy of the love and good fortune that we all are deserving of in this life. And if you don't believe that, then when you arrive in your relationships and in your business, it's not going to go anywhere. You'll just kind of have these behaviors that sabotage you or get in the way or are obstacles for the connection that you want, for the success that you want, for all of that.
So I look at that poster, your altitude is determined based on your attitude, and that's what I think of when you make that comment. If you have that good attitude, the positive attitude, the I'm going to do whatever it takes attitude. I'm happy with myself. I'm happy where I am. Then that's going to rise me to the top levels. And if I don't, and that's pretty much how I got the connotation from what you just said. So let me ask you a question here. Okay, so you started out and you were doing some therapy for some people, and then in a brick and mortar, and then all of a sudden you're online and you're coaching entrepreneurs. That is like, I don't know, going from the moon to Saturn or something. That's a big.
I'm kind of crazy.
That's a big
but
drop.
Hey, that's just what a typical entrepreneur does, right? We just are kind of these daredevils. Like, we might not jump out of airplanes, but we sure are addicted to the roller coaster highs and lows.
I think you're addicted to risk, but that's okay.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
So,
I mean, well, first of all, I was seeing about 17 people a week, and I was tired of sitting in my chair all the time, and I was tired of repeating myself all the time, because the truth is,
what did you say?
I was tired of sitting in my chair.
No,
all the
repeating
time.
yourself. You're
Oh
repeating
my
yourself.
That went right over my head.
That's okay. Brien can be smart ass sometimes.
You are a teaser.
Yes,
oh my
I
gosh. So, like, really, when we all are struggling with something, we feel like we're the only ones. And so I think that was really what the driving force behind this for me was that I know what you're struggling with is hard, but it's worse when you feel like you're the only one. So you know what? I'm going to tell you what the last person just told me, and I'm going to tell you what I dealt with. And so by just making these kind of covert problems more overt and open, it's just like this collective learning and evolution for all of us, that we're not alone, and we all are struggling with similar things, and we don't have to feel like we're the only ones. That was really what started me. But what made the big difference for me was live streaming. I discovered Periscope about 6 months after it just kind of started, and I discovered it. A friend told me about it. I downloaded the app on my phone. I of course jump in because I'm not scared, and I'm broadcasting for the first time. I just went for a run. My cheeks are red. I'm all sweaty, and I'm talking, and people are telling me, "Can you double tap the screen because we're looking at your windowsill?" I didn't even know what I was doing, but I became addicted instantly, and I started a show where I was broadcasting every single day, and I did that for like 7 or 8 months.
Wow.
And that really helped me grow my audience and my visibility.
So you're listening to KHTS, 1220 on your dial. We're here with Hilary Silver. Question for you. So you basically, in order to go transition from brick and mortar to online, you used Periscope. Was there anything else that you used to do that transition?
Well, I switched from Periscope eventually over to Facebook when Facebook jumped on the live streaming bandwagon, and I still sometimes do Periscope, but I'm mostly on Facebook now. And then and I have a pretty big Twitter following, not super big, but I've got probably like 13,000 people on Twitter, and it was really an active account for me for a while I was doing Periscope because they're connected. And then YouTube. I just was putting all of my videos on YouTube, and what happened was I got discovered, I guess you could say, by a media company who recruited me and wanted to help me build a relationship with the Steve Harvey brand. It took about a year for that to actually come to fruition, but I was on the show last July. It aired. They flew me down to Phoenix to work with a couple who was struggling with their sex life. We recorded about 8 hours of footage, and then the next week they flew me to Chicago to do the studio portion.
Wow, that footage must be awesome.
It was incredible. It was really like an amazing experience, and but I was there recording that during the week where they were wrapping up for the season and then forever, because they're starting a new show in LA, as you might already know, this fall. So it's a new show, new format, new studio, all that. So the hope is that I'll be on again. But I really attribute it all to how I'm showing up, use that phrase again, in my videos, being the face of my brand and walking the walk and teaching people what I know. But, I'm very, very transparent and authentic with my people, and I let them know I'm the expert, but I just messed up. This is what happened yesterday with my husband. Guess what? And they love that because I'm real.
So you had this show, and you had an office, right? So you're paying rent. So you just decided one day, I'm going to be online, or did you say, listen, I want to make this transition, and it took maybe a year or so before you were able to do that? Because I would think that your initial income is coming from the brick and mortar, and now you're trying to switch over.
Yes, well, because I'm totally honest and transparent, if I knew then what I know now, I think I would still do it, but it would have been a very different journey for me because I'd never had a business class before in my entire life. So then I was successful the
Well,
way
you
that
could have
I
checked
was
out Ask
before.
Brien.
I should have, and I wish that I knew about you guys. I'm in Denver. So really, I still have my office, and I still see people in person who live here who prefer it, but the model is different. They're not just coming one at a time, one session at a time. We are doing more of a coaching model, but my goal is to completely get rid of the office probably within a year's time. And the truth is, again, if I knew then what I know now, I thought I was growing my business to the online world, but the truth is I really was ending one and starting another. And I didn't know that. A business person might have known that. Different audience, different offerings. It's a different business. But I didn't know that.
Well, I imagine you got quite the couch in that office, huh?
It's a very lovely space.
I would think in your business you want to have the best couch because people want to come there and they want to be relaxed. And, if you got a $400, $200 couch, hey, they may have problems, but they got that $2,000 couch. They're sitting there. It's like, I'll gladly pay the $300 an hour.
Yes, it's a very nice office.
So now, when you went online, did you start to advertise online more than, and keep up the offline advertising, or did you go strictly online advertising?
Well, so I never really had to do advertising for my local business. I was
Whoa!
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive right there.
Yeah. So I started by taking insurance, as most therapists do, and that was a lower level of payment for the services that I was providing. So, but it did help to kind of boost me up and get me started. And then I quit that and raised my rates and started growing on my own, and I had enough word of mouth at that time, and I was booked out 4 weeks and had a wait list, and people couldn't get in. So I took a therapist on to work for me as a contractor so that instead of turning people away to my competition, I could keep them in-house. And so I get a cut of what she makes, and all she has to do is show up and see her clients. She doesn't have to do the marketing or anything. So I take on all the expenses and then just benefit from her getting to do the work that she loves to do without all of the responsibility. So I never had to really advertise. I had a great name and a great reputation for what I'm doing, and I have a lot of repeat business. Once people are off on their merry way, they go live life, and then, a year later, 2 years later, and even 9 years later for some people, they still remember the connection that we had and how helpful I was. They come back when they have something else they want to work on. But in the online world, it's a totally different animal, and people aren't coming to me in pain, so they're not as motivated. Sometimes they don't even know they need my help, but they do. And so it definitely requires more marketing and advertising, and that is something that I'm still working on right now. I just started working with a Facebook ads agency who will take that over for me because I don't want to do it. I just don't.
Well, also I would think there's a difference, right? When you're in your office in person and you're being given therapy, it's a much different concept than online. It's more cold, I would think, when you're online, right? It's a colder environment. There's no connection. They don't know who you are, and they're not coming into your office. They're just sitting there asking information, which is a little bit different than being in the couch and trying to relax and trying to really get more in depth, I would believe.
Yeah,
do you find that?
I really do prefer the face-to-face. Even when I'm working with an assistant, like I have virtual assistants, but when I get somebody who can help me side by side, I feel like we get so much more done. So there is a live component to my coaching, and people are, if they so want to and they so wish, they are welcome to come visit me, and we can do some of our work together in person. And I have a 6-month mastermind that I'm working on growing right now, and that is inclusive of, it's all group work, but it's also they get one-on-ones with me, and then they get a live experience as well, where they come see me. And I just really value the offline relationship.
So I want to ask you about the mastermind, but before we get that, there's two things. One of which is you never answered my question about the empathy, so we have to go back to that.
Okay.
So we were talking about earlier, right? About
Yeah.
reflective and empathy, whatever. And when I'm thinking of empathy, I think of, how does that other person, if I say something, how's that other person going to feel? right?
Yes.
But that's not necessarily how I'm going to feel. And you were saying that the being self-reflective is that it's the empathy of yourself. That to me almost seems to be an opposite approach from empathy, because empathy to me is how you see another person when you do something, how that another person is affected, not how you are personally affected.
Yeah, and I almost feel like those two things are not contradictory. I feel like they go together, because the definition of empathy is understanding somebody else's experience. And so you're putting yourself in their shoes, and you're trying to understand what it feels like, or maybe you do understand what it feels like, and you wouldn't be able to do that if you weren't able to self-reflect, right?
So if I self-reflect, I go to the Sunglass Hut, I buy those mirrored glasses, and I look in the mirror, then I'm self-reflected, right?
Yeah.
That's not the same?
And you got to look deeper than that.
Oh, well, I mean, I do come from California. We are a little bit,
You like shiny things.
On the other shade. But let's now, because I like to switch gears all the time.
Okay.
So you had stated earlier that you were an entrepreneur who actually provides therapy or information or coaching to people that have basically maybe a couple that may have a business together, whether or not they're married or not. Okay? So give us some examples of some situations where, without going to privacy details, but information about some couple that was in a situation and what you did to them and how they were able to accomplish their goal.
Yeah, so just one couple just coming to mind where they were married, and his business, and she was just feeling like he wasn't valuing her input, and she didn't know what her role was, and how much involvement does she have, and she was going in and doing some of the work some of the time just to alleviate, fill in the holes, maybe some of the bookkeeping here and there. But she wasn't really certain of her role, and it was causing friction because she didn't feel valued by him, and some of the employees were not sure whether they should take direction from her. And so, when you're working together, and sometimes it's a couples are working together, it is their business together, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes, like in my case, this is my business, and my husband has his own job, and he's, my support crew. He's, a valued member of my kind of board of directors, so to speak, but it's my business. And so there's a lot of different ways that it can show up. But for this particular couple, it was really about helping them to find their roles, and then having him, the principal business owner, making sure that he was setting the guidelines for everybody else so that she felt comfortable giving that direction. So they take their cues from him. So how was he communicating to his employees about the wife and what role she had? So am I making that kind of
Well, I think so that's an example where one person owns the business and the other spouse is working in the business. I'm looking for a true partnership situation where you have a husband and wife. We are going to be taking a break shortly, but I may have to interrupt, but I want a couple, okay? Sonny and Cher, a couple, people that were in business together, supposedly equal, right? And how were they able to cope with it and deal with it, and what are some of the problems they had, and how were you able to help them?
Yeah, so some of the problems that couples have that are in business together is that they never turn off the business. And so they're really they love what they do. They're, passionate about it. There's the ups and downs. So they're on this roller coaster together. And instead of, one person being on it and the other just watching. So, it's like high highs and low lows. And when one person isn't doing well, they're both not doing well financially or with the stress. And so it's really about recognizing that this is actually what is called a dual relationship, where you are business partners, but you are also love partners and romantic partners. And it gets complicated when your roles are different, because the issue of power shows up differently in a marriage and in a business. And so we were talking about power. In this particular case, this couple that I have on my mind as I'm talking about it, we were looking at their power play and their power differential at work and the power differential at home, and then having better boundaries about okay, we're going to shut off. We have other things to talk about with each other besides business, and if we don't, we're in trouble. So those were some of the things that we were addressing.
Well, we're gonna continue that because I'm not gonna let you off that easy. But
okay.
we do have to take a break. We're at KHTS 1220. We're gonna take a break. We'll be back in about a minute or so, and then we'll be back and we're gonna have some more interesting conversations.
Don and Gino here. So we know you want to have fun learning about real estate and finance. You're going to want to tune in this Saturday.
I am. Can you hear me?
The Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here on
Good.
Hometown.
How am I doing?
We have some hot topics as always, guiding you to personal financial wellness. And that's right. You don't want to miss it. So again, this Saturday 9 a.m. and then we replay it online Sunday 9 a.m. Tuesdays
Okay.
and Thursdays at 7 p.m. right here on the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. Join us.
Okay.
Lark Ranch is inviting the entire
Right.
community to
So more businessy. Well, and I'm not a business coach. I am, a relationship coach that helps couples that have businesses. So the focus is how to keep their marriage hot and healthy and happy and connected while they're growing their business. So I'll do my best to. I mean, we talk business. I'm an entrepreneur. I get it, but I'm mostly the relationship person.
First
Okay.
impressions say it all. Choosing the right makeup is critical to that first impression and keeping your skin looking young and healthy. That's why Santa Clarita's Jen Gerard created Gerard
Right.
Cosmetics, inspired by women
Okay.
of all ages who
I'll do my best.
gravitate toward classic and timeless beauty with a modern
Great.
twist. Gerard Cosmetics, superb quality and pigmentation, along with lip glosses and lipsticks in colors for everyone. The internationally acclaimed Gerard Cosmetics. Discover your new look at gerardcosmetics.com.
Hometown.
They're amazing, and every single one of their songs is amazing, except for like one.
Your hometown station.
And we're live back on KHTS 1220 with the Ask Brien Show. And we have a wonderful, wonderful guest today, Hilary Silver. Hilary Silver is a relationship coach involving entrepreneurs. Very interesting concept. Now, do you think you're the first one that's a relationship coach for entrepreneurs? Or do you think there are other relationship coaches for entrepreneurs?
I doubt I'm the first, but it is an.
But you are the best.
Yes, I think so. I've heard of other therapists who focus on entrepreneurial couples or couples who are in business together. I don't know in the online world where I am immersed if I've ever heard of another relationship coach who focuses on entrepreneurial issues. Yeah.
Now, so let's go back. So, first of all, when somebody has a relationship problem that's an entrepreneur, they're calling you, correct? They're emailing you. How are they contacting you?
Oh, people reach out in all kinds of ways. So they find me on my website, fill out the contact form. They fill out an application on my website for a consultation, and they have to answer certain questions for the appointment to be accepted. People just email me. They find me on social media and send me a message. But there is an application process. Not everybody gets to do the work.
Okay, so because I'm a little controversial at times, so I have to go this question. Okay, so you got a husband and wife. They're in business together. All right, somebody cheats. Now what's going to happen to that business relationship?
Well, it suffers big time. Imagine, like I said, the dual relationship. So they're struggling in their marriage because they've had a major trust breach and a safety breach, and the person that's been cheated on is traumatized. It's going to affect the business, hands down. You can't shut that off and then just cross over the threshold into your business and expect that you're going to take off your husband and wife hat and put on your business partner hat and have it be okay. It's just really, really challenging.
Have you been in any situation like that where they've been able to make it?
Let me think about that for a second. I think the business will eventually. I think the business has made it. I'm thinking of one couple in particular where they didn't stay together, but they did work at it very, very hard, and they did enough work on their relationship that they were able to keep the business going, and then I believe they eventually stopped doing the business together. One bought the other out, or I think at that point I wasn't working with them anymore, but I just think that's what happened. So the goal was to disentangle themselves completely at some point.
So, I mean, that's got to be a wow movement, right? You're coaching somebody, you're trying to help them out in the business thing. I'm thinking most of the issues are, well, they might be a great couple together, but business-wise, they never were in business together, so maybe they don't, different people. One person's maybe financially counts every penny. The other person's like, hey, listen, we got to market this and spend our money to do it. Those are the kind of things that I'm thinking about from what you're concerning about, not the opposite side, which is, hey, there's a gut call now because something's affected the actual relationship itself, and can they continue to be in business? So now let's go back to that first approach that I just talked about. How does that happen? So you've got a couple, they're happily married, they love being together, they love doing everything together, and they started a business. But guess what? They started a business, and they might be perfect together in every which way, but when it comes to business, they don't know. They're polar opposites. So how would you handle a situation like that?
Well, most couples are opposites. And so what you see in your marriage is probably what you're going to see in your business magnified. There's usually one person who's the money person. They care about it more. They're better at it. They get it. And the other one just kind of takes the back seat. I don't always think that's great. I think both people need to be plugged in. But it's not typically that way. Even Dave Ramsey says one's the nerd and one's the free spirit when it comes to money. And I agree completely. So, but it doesn't have to be divisive if both people are willing to kind of take responsibility for their role, and they can see that as that, hey, we're a good team, because if both of us were involved, we'd have too many cooks in the kitchen. But that doesn't mean that when you take the back seat on a certain issue that you're silent and that you're relinquishing power. You both need to be in the front seat navigating together. So it's it's about power. If you can manage the power struggle and see yourselves as a complementary team, then really you're just going to become a power couple. If those things become divisive, you're in big trouble. So I think what you see in your relationship is going to be reflective of what you see in yourselves as business partners.
Well, now that was a very interesting comment, because I've never heard, I've seen that, opposites attract, that concept. But you're sitting there telling me most couples are opposite. Now, that's just in the business world, or you're talking about most couples in general? Because that was a very, very bold statement.
Yeah,
even for you.
I see it. I say it like I see it, and I truly think that we are. I just know if I were married to somebody like me, we wouldn't last very long, because I just think that in every relationship, one person is more outspoken, more enthusiastic, more, of an extrovert, more out there, and the other one is a little bit more passive or kind of easygoing, laid back, and there's a reason for that. And so the couples where both people are those big, bold personalities, they're definitely there's more hostility, there's more volatility, there's more power struggle, and so we often are attracted to somebody who's a little bit opposite of us. And it's not a bad thing so long as both people are, again, to use that phrase, showing up fully and representing who they are and sharing who they are and making sure that their wishes and needs and wants and desires are known, then you're going to be okay. So I really believe that. I really, really do.
All right, so we've got about 30 seconds left before we have to go. This is my last question. All
okay.
Right? This is not really technically couples, but my question is, two people want to form a partnership. What is the best attribute that those two people need in common?
That they have to listen. I think communication is absolutely key. No lying, no hiding.
Yeah, I would have thought trust, but that's okay.
Well, it's not trust. It's trust in a different way. We think about trust as telling the truth factually, but I'm talking about telling the truth with your feelings, like what are your needs, what are your wants. Don't just say it's okay if it's not. Don't just say you'll do something just to make your partner happy if you really don't want to do it, and then make them
okay. And
the bad guy.
I hate to close it out, but we have to go. It was great having you on, Hilary, on the Ask Brien Show. And here we go. 1, 2, 3, and we're off.